Hello and welcome to FO Talks. We're hearing today from Mr. Vikram Sood, India's former Chief of External Intelligence, to hear about how nations construct narratives. FO Talks are brought to you by Fair Observer, a platform for citizen journalism with 2,500 contributors from over 90 different countries. And we would love you to join the conversation. So please do subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media, and of course you can publish with us as well. Mr. Vikram Sood's new book called The Ultimate Goal explains how a country's ability to construct, sustain and control narratives is key to its strength and position. Control people's perception of reality, he writes, and you can control them. Mr. Sood, welcome to FO Talks.
Thank you very much. To my mind, the ultimate goal of every power on the globe today, or the major powers rather, while it sounds very good to talk about democracy and freedoms and equalities, the ultimate goal is really control and domination. It could be territory, not so much nowadays because there are other means of controlling. It is definitely markets, resources, finances, trade, military control, insurance, even health. They're all now communications. They're all issues that have to be controlled to be able to exercise domination. It is accepted that the United States is the mightiest armed forces in the world that the world has ever known. But despite that, they haven't won a war for a long time. Korea was a stalemate, and up to now, up to Afghanistan, nothing really shows that it was the American superiority of weaponry that delivered the results. There were other factors, and the other factors were the strong narrative that they had. And the CIA used to have a representative signed to Hollywood who would advise them on scripts, who would advise them on stories, who would tell them to, or maybe also kind of a pre-censorship perhaps, to be able to guide the movies. It's not that the intelligence agencies are solely responsible for creating narratives or for changing narratives, but they're there to help build up a storyline for the state.
It was very interesting to hear you talk about controlling people's perceptions and narratives and how that leads to predominance. And I can see how, for instance, it worked for the British Empire for 200 years, because that was a different time, and the dissemination of information and opinions was so much slower. I wonder if it still works at this time.
You're very right. The old style of narratives is not going to be working now, because now with the social media, with the high tech, where in the days gone by, it would take days, weeks for news to reach, and you reacted and there was time. But now it's all instant. It's all now, here. And you can't just up and away and build a narrative forever. You probably have to be much more nimble. You probably have to be much more reactive or sensitive to how the rest of the country is behaving or thinking or feeling.
The difficulty for governments now of getting their message across is basically social media, which brings huge pressure on government at very short notice, and governments find it difficult to react. Do you think it's possible for governments to be nimble enough to run social media of their own to keep pace with what I call anti-social media?
So how do governments try and control this when the actual system is not under their control? It's Twitter who will decide who will speak, who will not be allowed to say anything. And so the system is going to be that much more difficult to execute. And I know I've seen that in the recent farmers' agitation in India, there are huge amounts of propaganda or whatever you call it, and counter both sides, same day, volumes of that coming out. It's just far too hectic for anybody to be able to control it. So I worry immensely how we are ever be able to control this like we would want to.
You were saying in your book that those narratives have been dominated by the West, by Western governments. So perhaps social media is a way of changing that dominant narrative, so that grassroots voices can be heard.
Yeah, which may also mean that we must have our own platforms.
Oh, I see. Social media platforms developed in India or other countries that perhaps
that's what I mean.
Their voices heard.
Since the social media platforms is the route now, I would really want an indigenous development of these facilities. Anything else? Anything you wish to conclude my remarks with is fine with me.
Dangerous words, but okay. Thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Sood, and also thank you to all our many questioners. You can continue the discussion at Fair Observer. You can sign up for our newsletter, obviously subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and of course you can publish with us. So please do join us and become a Fair Observer. Thank you very much.